Hello, and welcome to another video. Playing some more Lethality. I haven't had too much time to play lately, and what I've done, what I've played hasn't really been playing much Arena in general. So, here we have a match where I was attempting to snipe buffs since he was streaming Arena, and the games looked horrible, so I wanted to give him something to heal, but instead I ended up getting on his team. Not once, but twice. So I'm going to show you guys those games. They're actually relatively close in a way. From my point of view, it's not close, but to some of you, this might actually look close. I don't feel like it was, but regardless, it's a good learning opportunity. This is why you need to know how to do damage when you're playing, just in general. Like if you're not a kill target, you need to always know how to do damage, because if you don't, you're kind of just not achieving anything. So anytime that you're left to free cast, anytime you're left to do whatever you want, not the main kill target, you're going to be maximizing your DPS. And I do a little off healing, but I'm mostly focusing on DPS here. I do have self scan, which makes my damage miss a little bit, but for the most part, I'm able to get 4 players with all 3 of my dots, and that's quite a bit of damage. So it's highly important to learn your DPS rotation and your defensive rotation. It's like that number 1 and number 2. And if you're playing a class that is going to be tunneled a lot, or you're constantly tunneled, it is really important to probably learn your defensive rotation before your damage rotation. It's a lot easier to learn your damage rotation because you can learn that in PvE. Anyway, our first target is the PT, but unfortunately since the PT has covered the entire match, we need to try to kill the other players when we can. This guy gets off the ledge and there's not much I can do about it, but I do have dots on him, so it'll be okay. This guy tries to run off, he's already got dots on him, he's just going to die to fall damage. This one just dies dots. And for whatever reason the tank's kind of just left him, so you just get away with this, and whatever this Sin can manage, it's not really going to matter, because I'm just going to slowly kill the tank, and the assassin is just going to die. Now, the next round is a little bit closer, but for the most part, you know, as long as you learn how to do damage, any of these matches where it's important for you to do damage, you'll just automatically win. Obviously, there's always room to improve on damage, like I could have done more damage here. It's more so gauging the enemy team and seeing how good they were and how much I should worry, how much off-heal I should actually do, vice versa. Sometimes you need to gauge, you need to go in there and just play it safe, and then you can kind of like adjust accordingly, but rule of thumb is usually play it safe if you want to win, and then there's sometimes that you can just play it completely recklessly. See how that goes. That's probably going to get you globaled, to be honest, but sometimes you can do that. I'm playing it safe, and what I mean by that is I'm rolling in, I'm popping a Zorb and Stim Boost. That gets me a lot of damage reduction rolling in the opener. Almost impossible to kill even if they were all to go me. And they don't end up going me, but I'm able to basically tank all the cleave and like random damage they threw at me. This does put me in a little bit more vulnerable state, but I'm going to go ahead and hit my reset anyways. So, I still have my defenses back if I need them, and then obviously I just use Revitalizer. And Zorb again. Main reason is just to stay healthy. My focus on here is to just do damage. I'm giving a little heals to our Jug, but I'm pretty sure he just dies anyway. Which is, unfortunately, it's kind of last-sighting the healer. Not a great move. And we've gotten quite a bit of AoEs that were pretty nice. Now, this is where, you know, had I set on my defenses a little bit longer, it would have been better for me. Because then I would have a Zorb already going, and I would have Stimpus already going in that situation. I didn't want to break, but I felt like I needed to in that situation. I wasn't really getting heals during my my CC window. Had they had another CC, that would have been really bad. And I was thinking, like, as soon as that CC came out, I wanted to break that that new CC that was going to come on me immediately, but unfortunately, it just didn't happen. So I tried to immediately get out of there. That is scary for me. Most of the time, I'll have something, so it's not really a big issue, but since I was playing a little bit more aggressive because I know we needed damage, I ended up doing that. I don't really normally recommend that, but there are times where you just need to do damage, and that's a lot more important. The chances of them actually taking you down is so very high. And considering we have a healer, I shouldn't have much to worry about defensively. If we don't have a healer, then obviously there's more important things here. This situation is really weird. I get pulled, but I also took the vent. But that's fine. I had desync in place. I got my my Coltal, not my Coltal. What do you call that thing? Coltal Infusion? Yeah, there we go. It is Coltal, my bad. Pretty much in place, which is nice. That means, you know, besides stem boost, that even if buffs didn't even bother to like come back up here, I would have been fine against that jug. And then at least like the Sen, he's pretty much screwed. There's nothing he can really do. He does mob deflection, which does mean that I'm not going to be able to do as much damage to him. I'm not really even bothering because of it. I kind of hate deflection, to be honest. A lot of classes that I want to play, that I'm having a lot of fun with playing right now, are purely reliant on white damage, and there's a overwhelming amount of PT tanks completely countering white damage, and then there's this overwhelming amount of players playing Juggernaut and Assassin. They both have great defensives that basically counteract white damage, and then you also have Operative just being Operative, which makes it kind of miserable. And then there's also snipers, and snipers are just, you know, you had another class that just has immunity to white damage most of the time. It's not a fun time. I really think evasion is really stupid, but you know, we're already at this point. I think CDR for evasion is okay, but I think the extended duration on evasion is totally unnecessary. Sometimes I actually end up taking it because how overpowered it is against white damage, especially against a whole bunch of Arsenal Mercs or Carnage or Marksman or even Deception. And then there's times where I won't take it because it's, you know, I'm not getting any value off of it. Most people know to tab off. So I think evasion, yeah, it's silly. And a part of the issue with like defenses are so inconsistent for Assassin, Marauder, Juggernaut is because of Saber Ward and Deflection being so inconsistent. Against white damage, it's amazing, but against non-white damage, it's just terrible. And then sometimes against white damage, it can be inconsistent. Some people can get a lucky crit through the 50% defense chance with their white damage, which is not something that happens all the time, but it is possible to happen. So making it, even when it is good against its kind of like counter, it's sketchy sometimes. So that totally sucks. It's definitely a survival issue for those classes, and I think Saber Ward and Deflection should really just be worked, but at the same time I think they should just be better. I don't think defense chance and RNG should have a place in the game. I think it should honestly just be damage reduction. It would make the classes a lot better and a lot more playable. But also at the same time, you know, you got Mercenary, Reflect, Operative, Reflect. I don't think either of those should have Reflects, but you know, that's my own opinion. One thing they go into, main reason why we saw Saber Ward and like just defenses like that fall from grace, like evasion used to be absolutely insane. We saw the fall from grace was that white damage used to be superior to yellow damage by a large margin, and yellow damage ended up being just slowly buffed and buffed and buffed to the point that it's way better. Almost never miss because that's just the way it's coded. You have to have like a yellow defense chance DCD go off or an accuracy debuff that would actually affect yellow damage. Not all accuracy debuffs actually do that, which puts you in a really weird situation where 9 times out of 10, yellow damage is going to be better. That didn't always be the way. Some of the heaviest hitting abilities in the game are now yellow damage. They used to only be white damage. So that kind of like shift happened around 5.0. And we really saw the fall from grace for the most part. One of the great tragedies, I would say, is Mercenary. Mercenary went from like a decent damaging class to like okay healing to in 4.0 going into 5.0. 5.0 just absolutely made them explode. Their off heals became kind of pointless because you could just use defensives that would heal you. Previously, the only class that could use defensives to heal them was with Colto, and outside of that, it would be Juggernaut. Juggernaut would have Endure Pain and Enraged Defense. Kind of devalued those two defensives as Mercenary was ranged and could do those. I still don't think that's okay. I think, honestly, the Reflect on Mercenary should honestly just be another form of like defense power, I guess you could say, like damage reduction. Honestly, if they changed power yield with reflect on mercenary, it honestly wouldn't have been a bad ideal. It would give some anti-tunnel to BT, and then it would give some much needed extra DR to synergize the whole playstyle of being a tankier, or has range as a channel quite a bit. Jet Out is also a very nice ability, and if they made it actually just better, they wouldn't even need Reflect in the first place. So it is a really weird situation that they put that class in. The Trauma Regs are absolutely silly, but so is Super Goldo and so is Reflect Heal. Regardless, you know, that made a real big shift in the meta. Juggernauts became kind of silly, and for the most part, durability went through the roof. And this is honestly when I lost complete interest in ranked in general. But the main reason I ended up playing in the later season is just because games weren't good. And games weren't always good, but one of the main things that made me lose interest was the meta mercenary and operative being as big as it was. It wasn't always about doing damage anymore. People could just stall out arenas and it wasn't fun. I don't think that's fun. There was a whole meta where a mercenary would just run around with rapid scan, heal, or whatever. And they would just do that on the move. They would just outlast you. That would be their strategy. They wouldn't have any other strategy, and it was really stupid. Didn't enjoy it. Wasn't skillful gameplay. And most of the time, the queue will end up being mostly mercenaries and or classes that can just outlive each other at some point when it becomes truly competitive, and that's probably what would happen if we were to get ranked back again. But I think I would honestly be okay with that if they followed the system that I recommended, because it would basically incentivize players to play all three roles, which would mean the whole outlive meta wouldn't really matter because you would have a tank and heal at least a good amount of your matches, especially at higher ratings. And that would also mean that those classes would then play more damage focused, which was something that was obviously missing. Like, they can do a decent amount of damage, they just don't play that way. Most people don't do damage on those classes because they're just not taught. They don't learn through trial by fire how to properly play. Anyway, we lose that round because our targets are just all over. People are hitting whoever they want, and I think that's okay. It's just we're not getting enough damage to get anything going. They go me into opener, which is fine. It's something I would rather have. And it does take my team quite a bit of time to get to me, but I'm still pretty much okay. I've dealt with much worse. And another thing to think about how the game overall has evolved. Since yellow damage is so much stronger than what it used to be. Think like lightning. Lightning's really crazy, madness is crazy, engineering is insane, AP is really good, lethality is really good, concealment's really good. Like, all these classes, all these yellow damage abilities are so much better than the white damage counterparts. On top of that, you don't have to roll on missing, which is crazy. A lot of the defenses that were targeted at yellow damage, or at least pacify with Ruthless Aggressor or obfuscate with Ruthless Aggressor, no longer exist. I would be fine with the accuracy buff being gone, but at the same time, I don't really like diversion being the way it is. So, I mean, debatable. I think pacify was great to help with the whole sniper issue, but at the same time, I kind of agree with the accuracy buffs just not being necessary. I would love to see diversion maybe to get changed to DR and then change pacify to just be Ruthless Aggressor only. That would be great. Marauder needs some defensive power, and it is silly for it to not have Undying and Predation baseline. Those are like the iconic abilities for the class. Having this back into that is kind of silly. And then just as in general, the inconsistency with defensive chance. DCDs, they're really good against classes that aren't meta in the first place, and pretty bad against the meta classes. Kind of funny and sad at the same time. Anyway, this match goes on a little bit longer than it needs to. Solis just kind of farming damage while there's other guys like trying to heal, I guess. I don't know. In this situation, if people are just focusing same target and or doing decent amount of damage on their class, which Mercenary can do decent amount of damage, as you can see, Solis did decent amount of damage in this match, that they very much so could have closed out the game a lot faster. But again, people are not learning how to play Mercenary correctly. Anyway, hope you guys have fun for the rest of your day.